Hey everyone, my name is Jorvik and welcome back to Cade City. This is episode 6 of building Cade City, and we have done a lot to add to the city as well as a lot of stuff off screen. So as per usual, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, we are going to recap everything that I have done off camera. Starting with the first thing that I did was starting to build these apartment slash row houses in the old downtown area just to help kind of build the buffer between the skyscrapers and the old commercial buildings. On the flip side of that, I also started renovations on the Shield headquarters, as you can see from the black stained glass and the deep slate bricks. The next thing I did was finish up some detailing work on the media tower expansion building, as you can see here. I also started working on the old news building and the other office building as a way to kind of like make it seem like these were the first skyscrapers built in this city as the town started to expand. The next thing that I worked on was the expansion for the Avengers Tower. By continuing some of the design elements in the original tower, I expanded this base to add more office space to help fill out this block a little bit more. I also expanded upon the old industrial area that eventually will be filled out that leads to the port area. I also leveled this whole area and made this road just one straight road, giving a lot of room on either side to build more commercial buildings and apartment buildings. I also got rid of the studio apartments that were on the right side and leveled that off while clearing out the road. Those buildings will be rebuilt probably in the same area, but I have not decided yet. And finally, I started working on some of these unfinished buildings to help get their frame built in so we can see what they will look like in the skyline, with this condo building as well as the smaller office building to the right hand side of the screen. Which leads us to today. So last episode I talked about this area here next to the Freedom Tower, and this is what I came up with. So here is the plan as it stands. I didn't know what I wanted this big space to be used for. I also had a road that continued over there, and there was like a smaller road right there. And this was divided up into two buildings, but as you can see here, it's now one big giant building. So here is the plan. What I am doing is I'm going to combine two sort of landmarks of New York City. The Freedom Tower from the One World Trade Center, and then I'm going to take design elements from the United Nations headquarters, which I will put up a picture if you don't know what it looks like. So I'm mostly going to be building this building as sort of like an assembly hall. I don't know how I want to actually build the assembly hall itself, but we will be building the building. And there is a dome on top of it, and I am going through some design elements on how exactly I want to build that. Like, it's like essentially like how wide I want the circle to be, the full diameter, but that's something that I can work on later. And then we're going to be building the tall building, the main like office building for the United Nations headquarters is going to go here. As you can see, I already kind of mapped out exactly what the pattern will be, and that's just something I like to do, you know, for the sake of this. So this is what we are going to be working on today. I should start by talking about exactly how I got this measurement and this weird system here, this weird wall system I got going on. So when you look at photos of this like assembly hall building, it is like a sloped kind of like a very wide parabola looking building. So I wanted to try to emulate that as best as I could. So how I did it basically was just I spaced these out as even as I could, and then I went up 21 blocks on this, and I went up 14 blocks on this backside here, just to kind of give it a slope. And then from there, what I did was I dropped these down 7 blocks, obviously from the 21 to 14 to make sure that they will line up. The next thing I did was count the distance between this point and that point, which was 68 blocks. And then using all the numbers I had, I put it in plots, and it gave me basically 1/2 of the circle that I needed to complete this sort of curve. And as I did that, I just stepped in one each to kind of give it a more narrow look on the bottom. And that is how I got to the shape of this building. For this building, it's actually just pretty easy. It's just a rectangle, or rectangular prism, really. So this was pretty easy. I don't really have dimensions for this. Like, I have no idea like how long this is or how long that is. I just kind of sort of made it to where it sort of looked right. It does feel a little wide when you look at pictures, but again, the scale in Minecraft is way different, obviously, than real life. So we're going to kind of stick with this. And I think the best way to do this is essentially what I'm going to do is go ahead and get the materials out. And the materials I have are cyan stained glass, the full blocks. I have gray wool, and then I have light gray wool. We talked about light gray concrete I believe it was the last episode or the episode before, where I just like the way that it looks in this, and I want to build more in this. A lot of our old buildings were built with this, and I kind of want to go back to that. So what I'm going to do is essentially copy this pattern. This will go all the way down, so I'm not too worried about this. Alright, and here is the final bit. Okay. So these are at, I think, 15 blocks. I think they're spaced out at every 5, and then on the 6th block is where I have that gray wool to kind of add that black band across the window here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and get rid of this, because I want the windows to be ground level. I don't really care about what's under there right now, but we are going to do this. I'm going to come here to this corner, come here. I am going to get the coordinates for this, and then we're going to fly up. Alright, so we're going to come up here, look down, type in these coordinates, 59, and then we're going to type in cyan stained glass, hit enter, and boom, all of that done all at once. I love it. So now we're going to come in and add these spaces. So we're going to go in and fill this all the way down, and this is going to go all the way up to the top. And the reason why I wanted to go ahead and put the start of the button here is so it's easy for me to kind of glance, without having to count out everything. Alright, we should have one more. Oh, maybe not. I think that's all of them. Okay, so now technically we can go ahead and do what we just did. And I know this seems kind of redundant, but when you don't really have World Edit to do this, and you can just kind of, not cheat, but you can just kind of, make this process go a lot quicker. You do what you can. Alright, type this in. Oops. It's 86, not 56. That would have been bad. Alright, and then we type in light gray wool. And then we'll just replace like that. Alright, and there we go. So let me do this for the rest of these bands, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what one side looks like. So I went ahead and changed out the gray on the background. It does look like that there is like some sort of design inside the windows. Now, in theory, I could have just used black stained glass there, but I think adding the gray wool behind the glass kind of adds a little bit of depth. But this is going to be the pattern that goes all the way around the building. Now, the only thing about this is I like where it's placed, but it feels like that this building is going to hide the Freedom Tower. And I know that's like a small thing, but if I was to recreate the intro using new builds, the Freedom Tower is kind of obscured. And that's what was really, I think, kind of cool about the intro, but I don't know. We'll see when it's built. We'll see how it looks, but that's basically what we're going to do for that building. So instead of just completing this, it'll be boring because I'm just going to use the fill tool to do all this. We're going to work on this building and kind of talk about my design for this. So for the most part, this building is relatively just like one color. There is a bunch of there's like a nice like windowed facade on this side and on the back side, and then of course the dome on top. But the rest of this building is pretty like normal, like it's just pretty flat side. But I think we'll change it up a little bit as I guess fill in this side. But I do want to work on the window design. I think for this I'm gonna go with more of the gray and black stained glass, and just kind of work my way here. I also want to try and do this technique with the diorite wall. The same technique I did with the kind of news building over there. And what I want to do is, let's see, we'll bring, let's actually bring this in. I think if we, okay, let's do this. I'm thinking on the fly here. Let's connect these edges on the inside here. If I can connect them, there we go. And then we'll bring this down. Let's fill in this. Actually, we'll do it from this side. We'll fill in this wall. Okay, so that wall should be filled in. Okay, good. So then we can come here. We'll bring this down to, go ahead and also bring down this wall. I'll tell you what though, from learning this trick, I think my typing skills have gotten a lot better. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna fill that top in yet because I don't know if I want to do that yet. Okay, cool. So we'll have that, and then let's also bring this in like, what's that, 5? Yeah, I'll bring it in 5. The same on the other side. I mean, what I should do, yeah, okay, that looks good. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to put these diorite, let's see, I gotta make sure, if I space them 3 apart, would that suffice? Hopefully this is equal, and it doesn't look like it is. Okay, no, that's fine. That actually helps a little bit. So that means that this will be our entrance. So if we put block there, make this like 5 high, pull this all the way across like that. Also pull these all the way across. Okay, and then pull this across like so. Okay, cool. So then if we put the die right there, yeah, because I want one off the wall, that'll look good. Come over here, do the same thing, and then we're just gonna raise these up all the way to, I guess the ceiling would be right there. Yeah, that's where the ceiling would be. I'm gonna be honest, I actually really like the walls, and I don't use them a lot in my builds, and I really should, because you can do a lot of cool things with these, just like stairs and slabs, and I don't know if a lot of people really do it. The only thing about them is when they connect to a normal block, they have that, but when you connect them to themselves, and you have like you can have like a legit wall, and it's way thinner than a block. And I've been experimenting building like houses and other buildings out of them. I think would be really cool. All right, last one here. Okay, cool. So that's kind of like what we're looking at, and you can kind of see what I'm going for here. Adding these walls just basically adds a little bit of a partition between what the glass is going to be. And actually, now that I have the pane, do the panes make sense? Let's see. You guys are just gonna have to bear with me here as I'm actually really experimenting. Let's see. Let's pull these up all the way. Actually, we'll pull that up all the way. That won't go all the way to the top. Probably just, no, I'll do one more so it connects with that wall. And then we'll come right here. Hit a 15, and then we'll come up here to red. Let's do, how far? I think it's one down. Yeah, right there. Gotta be careful here. Now, if this works, it should set up correctly. Oops, it would help if I put the second S there. Sweet. So now if we look at that from afar, ooh, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I kind of dig that. I mean, like obviously from the side you can see that it connects with the diorite walls, but honestly, is that a bad thing? Here, let's look at, we'll pull this up so it connects to the top. And I actually want to get rid of this. And then what if we put some diorite here that connects up there. Okay. And then we take the gray stained glass, and let me go ahead and just connect this down just for the sake of that. Then we'll take this, like I said, the gray glass. Okay, how do we feel about that? Because I actually really like that. The gray glass actually blends in really it blends in really well with the black glass. You honestly can't tell that it's different unless you kind of look at it from the right angle. But I think that looks really good as like a front facade. So let's figure out this roof situation really. And I think I want to have the roof angled. So actually we'll get rid of these. Let me just do a few of them at a time. So those will couple that. And then that'll couple that. And then that'll be our roof. Yeah, that's not too bad. What if we pull this one out more and then pull this one out? Yeah, actually I like that better. Okay, so let's do that. And there we go. Cool. So that's what we have for this, and guys, I really dig this. And I think if we add some glowstone, since glowstone's white, it'll fit in pretty well with this. Let me find it. I should always have some on hand. How does that look? It looks all right. I think because the stained glass also connects to that, it kind of looks weird. But let's just see what it looks like when we change the time. Let's do midnight. Okay, that's not too bad. That doesn't look too bad. Let's do the rest of this and see how it looks. What benefits, I could put it in there, but I think if I recess it back a little bit, I think it would look a little bit better. I only wanted to do one side just in case I didn't like it. I don't know. I don't know yet. I mean, it looks nice because it adds light to the area. But I don't know how it looks just like aesthetically speaking. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. What if we'll experiment though. We'll experiment. So what if I put in like glowstone like in the bottom here? So like there is light in here. Oops. Coming from the bottom. We'll put one right there too. So like from out here, there's light emitting from the bottom, but like on the inside, you know, like there would be probably, I haven't been inside this building in real life, so I actually don't know. I'm imagining there's like some sort of like lobby, and then it goes into the chamber, because I know the chamber's like in the back, and it's under the dome is the assembly hall. So I imagine there's like a kind of nice, like, not like a food court, but like just like a nice open space, you know, for people to congregate and that kind of stuff like that. So yeah, so I think I like this better. I think adding the glowstone in the bottom and illuminating from the top, from like the bottom up, I think is better. So let's change that right now. So I left that in the middle there because I think that that is kind of nice, but I do like kind of the ambience of this. And I think if we also add some more on the outside, like maybe like one right here, one right here, and then we'll come over here and do the same thing. You know, it'll kind of add to the thing. And of course we can landscape this area to like put bushes. The old tried and true, putting bushes on top of glowstone. Oops, I'll fix it later. But yeah, no, I think that looks really, really nice. And then once we get the rest of this area filled out and then put some street lamps on the actual roads, I think it'll look nice. So we'll do the same thing on this side. It won't probably be as grand, but it'll be like the same sort of design. But I can do that off camera. I'm already going too long for this. And of course I'll do this off camera as well. But anyways, guys, that'll be it for this episode. I know these episodes are kind of getting shorter and more, I'm not showing as much content, and that's just because it's boring building. I think just showing you the process and the design, and then just showing you what it looks like, I think is good enough in my opinion. But if you would like me to show more of these builds, then please let me know in the comments below. You know, I'm a small new channel, so you know, I will reply, as they say, and I really appreciate all the love and support so far, regardless of how many views these videos get. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because the next episode we are going to be tackling the area behind me up on the terrace, and we're going to be building the new technology complex center. It's not just going to be the MET building, which if you watched the first episode of this, you would have seen. But we are going to be starting the design process for that. I already kind of have a design in mind for it, but we're going to be kind of testing it out. So next episode will probably be a lot longer, just because there's going to be a lot that goes into designing that building, and you guys are going to be here for it. So with that being said, I thank you for visiting Cade City today, and I hope to see you next time. Like I said before, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications to be notified of new episodes in the future. If you have any ideas on what I could build on this world, please let me know. I have a lot of plans to carry this series for a very long time, including adding schools, university, and even looking for a spot for a potential Capitol building, which I actually have never had in this world before, which is kind of crazy now that I think about it. But, you know, that's all in the future, and if you want to see that, like I said, don't forget to subscribe. But my name is Jorvik, and I'll see you next time.